Why is accountability important? Because it drives responsibility, it drives trust, ownership, and overall creates an environment where people can be so much more productive. And as a manager and leader, this is what you want to be promoting and harnessing with your team. You want to create a team that has high accountability, because that means that you are far more likely to achieve your results and to have a team that is actually thriving and successful in the work that they do. Hey, I'm Tash Pieterse, certified people leadership coach and host of the Lead with Less podcast, helping you to become a leader people actually want to follow. And in today's episode, I am going to share how you can build more accountability in your team. Because something that I hear and work on with a lot of my clients is, how can I get my team to be more accountable? How can I get them to take more initiative, to drive projects and pieces of work themselves? Like, why am I always the person that's needing to drive this for my team? Or why am I always the person that they're coming to ask for answers and trying to fix things? And what I will say to that is probably because you're encouraging it, because you're creating an environment where that's happening, but there is ways that we can change that. There are things that we can do and that you can do to create an environment where your team are accountable, where they take ownership and they drive a lot more of the results and performance that you are looking for, and that ultimately they want as well, because that's going to be a reflection of the kind of experience that they're having and the results that they're creating. Let's dig a little bit deeper. Why is accountability even important? Like, why is this something that as a manager you need to be thinking about? Because ultimately, when your people are taking accountability for their actions, then they're also taking responsibility for their results or their lack of results. And by doing that, then your people are actually going to improve their own performance. They're going to get the results that they want, and they're going to build stronger relationships with the people that they're working with and overall achieve all of the goals. And that's ultimately what we want. We want our people to achieve their goals. We want them to be getting the results that they're there to get, because that's what we're employing them for, right? To deliver on the work that they're there to do. But there is this intrinsic part of each of us, of being human, where we want to have accountability. We want to have ownership, because when we feel accountable, there's a certain level of drive and discipline and motivation that can come from feeling like you are in control, like feeling like you are the one that is driving performance and driving results. And when we work in teams or work for people where this isn't fostered, where this isn't created, it really dampens motivation and drive. You might be able to reflect on some experiences in your past where you maybe have had more of a micromanager, or maybe had a manager who just tried to control everything or just didn't care. And I can probably guess that you didn't feel extremely motivated. You didn't feel extremely engaged in the work that you were doing and feeling really connected and engaged with that team. And that is often a result of a lack of accountability within the team itself, because that manager doesn't actually know how to foster and create accountability within the team. So that's what I want to help you do today. I've got 6 steps as part of my accountability framework that will help you to build more accountability with your team. And these are skills that you need to develop as a manager to then transfer it onto your team. The stronger that you become as a manager in these skills, the more that you're going to be able to practice them, be that example for your team, and then you're actually going to help them develop those skills as well. So that's what I really try and do with a lot of my coaching and a lot of with what I share on the podcast, is helping for you to develop your own skill set to become a leader people actually want to follow. But that also that they see that example of great leadership, that they then build their own leadership skills from that, which is only going to have a positive correlation and a positive reflection on you and your results. So let's dive in. How to actually build accountability in your team. Here is my 6-step framework that I'm going to help you do that. Number 1, clear vision and goals. This might seem like a basic and obvious one. You will be surprised at how many managers and leaders don't actually have a really clear and compelling vision. Now, if you are a middle manager or a new manager, this isn't necessarily wholly your responsibility, because your company needs to also have a compelling vision. Overall, what is the company trying to achieve? Overall, what is the company working towards? Once that overarching vision has been set, each of the managers within the business needs to extrapolate that out for their own team. What does it look like for us as our team to deliver on that vision, on that strategic goal, whatever it might be? As a manager of your team, you then create a kind of a sub-vision that connects to that overarching vision, which makes it compelling for your team. When that vision and those goals are really clear and people understand them, they understand what their purpose is, they understand why they're achieving those things, they understand what that is going to enable their team or the business to do, they are far more willing to contribute. They're far more willing to step up and to drive the results that you're looking for. But they need to have something to pull them. They need to have something to pull them towards that. This is something that I talk about in my strategic thinking and decision-making masterclass as well, which you can purchase. I'll put a link in the show notes of how you can actually create really compelling visions and level up your strategic thinking skills as well. But this is really important because if your people don't know what they're working towards, if they don't know why they need to be doing things, they're far less likely to be accountable for what they're doing, and they're far less likely to drive for that as well. So step number one is to have a really clear vision and goals, both for the team and individually. Do you understand the developmental goals for your team? Have you been having those conversations with them to understand what they are working towards, how they want to grow, how they want to develop, so that they can also feel that connection through their own personal and professional growth as well? Step number two, and I speak about this so much. If you have listened to every single one of my episodes, you will know that this is a common theme. To build accountability in teams, there needs to be clear expectations. I have done an episode just on setting clear expectations, which I'll link in the show notes. But clear expectations is the number one driver for more accountability. When people understand and know what is expected of them, they are far more likely to be accountable to delivering it and more accountable to the consequences. Because if people know what's expected of them and they know that what will happen if they don't meet those expectations, they're more likely to want to meet those expectations so that they know what is required of them. So setting clear expectations is so critical. And in my VIP Leaders program, we actually dive deep into setting clear expectations in a module all by itself because it is so fundamental. And if you want to join the interest list to find out when the next round is, head to the show notes as well. So what falls within clear expectations? What are you asking them to do? What are you looking for? What is the outcome you're wanting from this piece of work? Why do they need to do it? Why should they care? Why should they do this? What is the timeline? What timeline are you expecting them to work towards? And then, is there any check-ins or coaching that's needed along the way? You don't have to explicitly say how something needs to be done, because then we can sometimes fall into some micromanagement tendencies. What we want to focus on is what success looks like. What does done look like? What do you expect to see when they finish this piece of work? And then what coaching and check-ins they might need to make that happen. The more that you do that, the more that those expectations are really clear, the more that people will actually get on and do what is required of them because they understand what they need to do. They understand what you're going to be looking for. And that is the power of clear expectations. This is step number two in building accountability in your teams. If you are not spending enough time setting clear expectations, you are not going to get the reward of high accountability. So this is so critical. Step number three in building accountability in your teams, delegate intentionally. I'm adding intentionally here because we want to make sure that when we delegate work to people in our team, that there is an intention behind it. I'm giving it to this person for this reason, because it matches their growth and development plan, or because they have the skill set that I need for them to do that piece of work, or because they have availability in their workload right now, and so it makes sense for them to do it. What is the purpose of you delegating to that person specifically? And delegating and setting clear expectations go hand in hand. You can't delegate intentionally and effectively without having clear expectations about what you're actually delegating and what you're expecting to see after they finish it. And delegating intentionally is really important because when you do this well and you know how to do it, you are less likely to micromanage because you know what you're asking for. The other person knows what they're being asked to do. They know the parameters around which they need to do that. And everyone's on the same page and everyone's agreed to what the deliverables are. So delegating intentionally and setting clear expectations are really important. You need to be really thoughtful about who you're delegating work to, but also that you are delegating work. If you're holding on to all of the work, no one's going to learn and do anything, and no one's going to want to do anything, because if they don't get any of the good stuff, if they don't get any of the really stretchy, interesting work, why are they going to show up for you? They're not. So delegating intentionally and really thinking through what you're going to give to people and why is really important. Step number 4 in how to build accountability in your team: coaching. The coaching skill is the most underrated skill. Coaching is effectively asking more questions instead of answering and fixing things. So we want to build the skill set of how can I ask more questions when someone comes and asks me something, or when they want me to fix something or give them a solution. How can I ask more questions to help them come up with solutions? What this also does is it helps to build initiative building and also critical thinking. So the more questions that you ask, the more your team comes to learn that they need to come up with solutions, that you're not going to be the one to give solutions all the time. So some simple questions you can use is, what are some options that you've already thought about before you came and asked me this question? I don't actually know what the best option is. What would you recommend if I were to come and ask you this? Based on what you know so far, and based on what the problem is, what would you recommend is the best outcome? Or what gaps or challenges do you think there are that we need to look into more? So just asking more questions to get their thoughts. Often we fall into the trap of, oh, I'll just quickly give the answer, or I'll just quickly fix this because it'll just save me time right now. And yes, that is true. In the moment, right now, it will save you time because you're just answering the question and they can move on and go and do whatever they need to do and you can get back to work. Yes. However, you are actually going to spend more time in the long term, because this creates a dependence, because they're going to come to you and ask you this question again, or they're going to ask you similar questions, or they're just going to think, oh, Tash will answer that question, so I'll just go and ask them. Rather than them using a bit of their own problem-solving skills, their own thinking processes, their own grit to come up with some of their own options and ideas. And that is what we want to do. We want to be able to transfer that ownership and that accountability to them, for them to start thinking about their answers and their ideas, so that we don't become the bottleneck for answering questions and giving fixes to problems. This is a really key skill that you want to develop. And we dive into this again deeply in a specific module in VIP Leaders, because taking a coaching approach has so many benefits. It builds independence and accountability within the team. It reduces your workload, because now all the problems don't become your problems. You can actually keep certain problems with people where they are. And it also creates more self-reliance. And this comes back to independence. People become more self-reliant on themselves, and they also can get more creative in finding answers as well, because they might go and ask someone else that isn't you. They might go and spark up a conversation with a colleague or with someone else in the business where they could find that answer. Again, that can create really strong relationships and create more collaboration, which is a good thing. So step number 4, skill number 4 in how to build accountability in your teams is to coach more, ask more questions, fix things less. Your sole purpose is not just to fix things and make life easier for your team. Your purpose is to bring out the best in your team. And often that can just create a little bit of tension between them trying to figure out the answer and you not giving them the answer. So again, we're wanting to build a bit more of that self-reliance, that self-autonomy, that critical thinking skills. We want to build that within our teams. Step number 5 in building more accountability within your team is giving direct and specific feedback. I talk about this a lot on my podcast as well. This is critical. The more direct and specific feedback you can give to your team regularly, in real time, as they're working through things, the more that they're going to build their knowledge, the more that they're going to be able to iterate and get better and grow and develop. And that's what we want to do with our teams. And one of the key things around giving direct and specific feedback is knowing how your people prefer to receive feedback. So make sure you take the time to understand that and learn that. Take the time to Ask them how they prefer to receive feedback. Do they like it in real time? Do they like a heads up? Do they want it in private? Do they want it in public? The more you can know how they prefer to receive feedback, the better those feedback experiences are going to be, because you're giving it in a way that they prefer to receive it, which means that they're more likely to take it in and take it on board. This doesn't mean that they might like it. This is why I don't use the word, how do they like to receive feedback? Because they might not like it, but they will have a preference for how do they receive it. And even if you did your best in giving the feedback in the best way possible, they might still get defensive. They might still get upset. We can't control any of those things. But what we can do is make sure that we're making feedback a regular part of the conversations that we're having, because the more that we're giving it, the more comfortable people will get with receiving it. And when we're doing it with intention, with making it specific, making it relevant, and making it a curious conversation, because we don't know everything, but hey, I can share my observation and get your insight, the more likely they're going to see that feedback is a really good experience. And I really want you to do your best to make feedback a really great experience for your people, because you never know what's happened to them in the past. You never know how feedback has been for them in the past, but you have the opportunity to create a really great experience for them now with you as their leader. Ultimately, we want to make sure that we are giving direct and specific feedback as much as possible, in a way that makes it specific. They know exactly what you're talking about, and that it's relevant, that it makes sense for you to give this feedback because it relates to this aspect of their growth and development, or it relates to this aspect of this piece of work. I will also say that making feedback both ways is really important as well. So really encouraging you to receive feedback as well. So making sure that you're asking your team for feedback around how you can do things better, how you can do things differently, how you can help to create a better environment for them to work in. That will also encourage that accountability as well, because if they know that, hey, I actually have a say in some feedback, my opinion is valued when I step up and I give feedback, when I share things like this with my manager, they actually listen. That also fosters a lot of accountability because they feel valued and recognized, which leads me into step number 6. How to build strong accountability in your team is recognize wins and progress. This is so important. As human beings, it is in our nature to feel like we add value, to feel recognized, to feel seen, to feel heard. That's what humans crave. That means that we belong, that we are contributing to something bigger than us. And when we work in a team, we want to feel like our contribution matters. We want to feel like our contribution means something. And so one way that you can do this is to recognize your wins and recognize the wins and progress of your team. Recognizing wins is essentially feedback. When we can give feedback and praise, we're recognizing wins. We're giving great feedback. Again, we want to make it specific and relevant. Why does this win matter? Why are you recognizing this for them? An example could be they led a team meeting really well and they kept everyone on track and everyone had their actions and they finished on time. That is something really great to praise because not everyone does. We know that. So pulling them inside and say, hey, I really wanted to give you some feedback on that meeting. I really loved the way that you handled that meeting. You kept everyone on track. You kept the conversation moving and there were really clear actions that led out of it, which meant that we stayed focused and we finished on time. And I really appreciated that. That was really well done. That is making that feedback really specific for them. It makes it tangible. They knew exactly the points that are valuable and what they can continue doing. And that's what we want to do with praise. So we want to show them what they're doing that's working really well and what they can continue to do. And how this builds strong accountability is because when people feel like they're making progress, when people feel like they're getting runs on the board, they're making wins, they're achieving what they're setting out to achieve, they are more willing to keep doing it. One thing I really hate that old management do is like, if there's no feedback, it's a good thing. No, because then when you need to give constructive feedback, when you need to give feedback about what they need to do to change or improve, it hits harder because it's all they're hearing. They're not hearing the praise and the wins and the recognition and the progress. They're not hearing the things that are working, which means that when they hear about the things that aren't working or that need to improve, it can feel harsher because that's what they only hear. And so recognizing wins and progress is a really important part of helping people to see that what they're doing matters, seeing that what they're doing is adding value. And the more that they can see that, the more that they're going to want to keep doing it. That's what we're here to create and cultivate as managers. So those are my 6 steps, my 6-step framework on how to build more accountability in your team. And I recommend thinking about one step that you want to prioritize and work on over the next couple of months and really work on it and build that skill set. As I mentioned, all of these are actually things that we speak about specifically in VIP Leaders. So if you want to have a leadership program that goes over 12 weeks with 12 coaching calls where you dive in and get the support that you need on every challenge that you're facing, then this program is absolutely for you. The next round will be starting soon, so make sure you get on the interest list so you can get the early bird and any extra bonuses as well. But what I will do is I'll share the 6-step framework with you again, and then I recommend going back and listening to each section of the ones that you want to work on. So number 1, get a really clear vision and goals. Make sure that there is a clear vision and goals that people can connect to. Number 2, set really clear expectations. When people know what to expect, they're more likely to want to meet them. Number 3, delegate intentionally. The more purposeful and intentional you are with the way that you delegate, the more that people are going to grow and stretch themselves because of the work that you're giving them. Number 4, coaching and ownership. Spend more time coaching and asking questions and less time fixing and doing things for your team. The more that you do this, the more self-dependence, self-reliance gets built, which means that the more that they're going to show up and problem solve. Number 5, give direct and specific feedback. Spend more time giving feedback in real time, making it relevant and specific, and keeping that conversation curious so that people see this as a really valuable part of the way that you manage them. And again, make sure you ask for feedback for yourself as well. And then number 6, practice recognizing wins and sharing progress. The more that you do this, the more that people feel valued, they feel like their contribution matters, and the more seen they are. And the more that they have that, the more willing they are going to be to step up, to keep pushing forward, and to keep delivering great results. And that's ultimately what we want. So I hope that this episode was helpful for you. Again, pick one thing that you want to work on over the next couple of months. Keep practicing it. And as always, please let me know what you've thought about this episode. Make a comment down below or send me an email or a message on Instagram and LinkedIn. I would really love to hear. I always love hearing from you and what you've taken away. And I'll be back in your ears next week. Hey, that's all from me today. Thank you so much for listening to Lead With Less. It means the world to me if you could take a moment to leave a rating and a review on Apple or just rate with 5 stars on Spotify. It means a lot to the growth and the expansion of the podcast. And if you know any other people leaders who could do with a dose of inspiration to level up their leadership skills, then please forward on this podcast to them. I would really appreciate it. And as always, if you have any feedback or have any thoughts, please message me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or email. I'd love to hear from you.